Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the late stages of the month of July. We're about a month away from college football. I am so amped. I'm so psyched up. And guys, today I'm going to be giving you a full in-depth breakdown / prediction video on how I think my favorite team, the Ohio State Buckeyes 2021 season, is going to go. First, I just want to go over the schedule, give my picks, give my score predictions on the game, and then we'll talk about the actual team position by position. Looking at week one, now looking at the schedule, I absolutely love playing the Thursday night game, getting Ohio State national TV. Beautiful. Kick off the season. We know there's a week 0, but really this is week 1 at Minnesota. It's going to be rocking. It's going to be a sellout. 8 o'clock start time. Not too concerned about this game. We know Tanner Morgan is a veteran quarterback, so they have some experience back there. But overall, Minnesota losing Rashard Bateman really shouldn't be too much of a threat. I know they had a bad season last year, kind of a disappointing year. But Minnesota week 1, this will be breaking in C.J. Stroud as the starting quarterback. I just want to quickly get this out of the way. I do believe C.J. Stroud is the next big thing when it comes to college football. I just think he's an absolute stud. I think he's definitely going to be the week 1 starter. And if God forbid, he gets injured, I believe that Kyle McCord, former 5-star, he is a true freshman, but former 5-star, would be backed up and would be inserted in his place. So I think Stroud is the clear number 1, Kyle McCord's number 2, and then Jack Miller is number 3, who will likely transfer. If that is the case, we'll see Jack Miller hit the transfer portal. But guys, Minnesota week 1, expect C.J. Stroud to start. I think this should be a relatively easy game for Ohio State, winning by a score something like 49-24. Maybe a little bit of a coming out party for C.J. Stroud in week 1 at Minnesota. 8 o'clock start time, going to be rocking. You love seeing that. Week 2, definitely a weird game here. Oregon at noon. I for sure thought this was going to be a 3:30 game. I was just thinking to myself, like, I don't know the last time Oregon has played a noon Eastern game. Traveling from the West Coast, it's had to have been at least 5 or 6 years. But I think this is just going to be a really weird game. Oregon definitely has a really good defense, really talented defense. Offense, there's some huge question marks with Oregon. I see Ohio State winning this game something like 30-19. I think it's going to be low scoring, heavy field goal game, maybe a little sloppy early in the season. This could be probably C.J. Stroud's worst game. It would just be his second start overall, and you're facing a really good, talented defensive team, maybe the most talented defense he'll face in this regular season schedule. So it could be a kind of a weird, slow game. The atmosphere, again, this will maybe I don't know if it's going to be a top 10 matchup. I don't know if Oregon's going to be ranked, how high they're going to be ranked, maybe like 15th. But it's just going to be such a weird atmosphere that this game's at noon, and it'll be on Fox. So I've got Ohio State winning that game. A weird score, maybe like 30-19. Moving on to week 3, we get Tulsa. The weird thing with Tulsa is they were ranked late last year by the playoff committee. They were ranked like 24th or 25th. This year, I don't think they're expected to be as good. That's a 3:30 FS1 start home game. I would expect Ohio State to win this game, something along the lines of 56-14. Next, we get Akron, the University of Akron. That game will probably, I'm guessing, be played at noon on Big Ten Network. If you guys don't know, the Big Ten Network gets 2 Ohio State games no matter what. They're just it's in their contract that they have to get 2 Ohio State games. So this will probably be on the Big Ten Network at noon, and I would have Ohio State winning this game, something along the lines of like 76-3. Akron is one of the worst teams in all of the FBS. Moving on, at Rutgers. Rutgers, up-and-coming team. They're doing really well in recruiting. Greg Schiano turning around Rutgers. It's a crazy story. That'll probably be a noon start time on maybe Fox, I would guess, or maybe a 3:30 start time, but I have Ohio State winning this game pretty comfortably, something along the lines of 45-17 over Rutgers. It is an away game, but I see an easy win. This Maryland game, I believe, has been set for noon. I don't know why it says TBD. I don't know if they have the network yet. I think it might be FS1. But overall, I think, Tua's younger brother, he can throw the ball around a little, but I have Ohio State winning this game, something along the lines of, let's go 55-27. Kind of a weird score, 55-27 over Maryland. Tua's younger brother, he can throw the ball around. We have a suspect secondary. We'll be talking about that in a little bit, but I do have Ohio State winning that game. Moving on, at Indiana, this is the big one. Everyone talks about this game. When it comes to the overall game time, if Indiana somehow only has one loss or maybe, 0 losses, this will be a primetime game, night game. I highly doubt that's the case. Indiana has a tough schedule, and I think they're a far overrated team. My guess is this is a 3:30 game on ABC, and I think Ohio State wins it comfortably, something along the lines of 52-28 over Indiana. Moving on, this is the game I'm probably most scared about. Penn State, they always play us tough. I know they had a tough season last year, but I expect them to bounce back and have a very solid year with the veteran, quarterback Sean Clifford. They still have a good defense, and I really like James Franklin as a coach, so this will probably be a night game. Columbus will probably be rocking. It's the day before Halloween. You hope it's a night game. You get recruits in there. 7:30 ABC game, hopefully, and I have Ohio State winning this one. I would go 41-24 over Penn State. Penn State always plays us tough. Moving on, Saturday, November 6th at Nebraska. You're probably looking at a 12 o'clock start time. I think Nebraska is a sleeper team. Veteran quarterback Adrian Martinez, Scott Frost, he needs to have a good year. They're a sleeper team to win 7 or 8 games this year, but obviously I'm not going to pick them against Ohio State. I think Ohio State is clearly the better football team. I have Ohio State winning this game 52-17 or somewhere in that range. That's the exact score we beat them last year. So Ohio State easily over Nebraska. Probably a noon start time on FS1 if I had to guess. Moving on, versus Purdue. Obviously Ohio State looking for some revenge here. The last time we faced Purdue, they blew us out. I believe it was 49-20 was the final score, and I do have Ohio State. First of all, I have this game probably being a 3:30 game on ABC if I had to predict, and I have Ohio State winning this one by around the same score that Purdue beat us. I have Ohio State 45-20 over Purdue. Moving on, Michigan State at home. Probably a noon start time on ABC if I had to guess. Maybe FS1. I have Ohio State winning this game by a score of 56-3. I am not high on Michigan State at all. Mel Tucker, they're going to have to do a real big turnaround there in East Lansing. And then the final game of the season, we all know the rivalry game versus the University of Michigan. It's obviously a noon start time in Ann Arbor. I have Ohio State in that one by a score of about maybe 52-27 over the University of Michigan. Michigan, probably Harbaugh's last year. I think I predicted Michigan to go 6-6. I think that's a fair prediction. Maybe 7-5. I don't know. But overall, Ohio State. So, guys, overall, right up on Ohio State. I do have them finishing 12-0. And I just kind of want to talk about it. It's just so tough to predict Ohio State to lose a game. I believe the stat is we've lost a total of 4 Big Ten games in the last 8 years. Obviously no one thought we were going to lose to Purdue. We end up losing by 30. Nobody thought we were going to lose to Iowa. We lost to Iowa by 30. So there's definitely, there's unpredictable things that can happen, but just when it comes to predictions, like predicting this schedule, it's just so tough to see Ohio State losing a game. Now, I quickly want to break down the positions, go position by position, starting with the quarterback. And I just kind of want to talk about CJ Stroud a little bit because I do think he will be in the Heisman running. I think he'll be a finalist for the Heisman, if not win the award. You watch CJ Stroud during the spring game. You see the arm, the touch. He's quick. He's faster than Justin Fields. I think he has a chance to be better than Justin Fields, and that's saying a lot because I loved Justin Fields, and I know a lot of Ohio State fans think Justin Fields was the best quarterback in Ohio State history. But CJ Stroud, you look, I think people are they don't see the recruiting next to CJ Stroud because he really wasn't a composite 5-star. The only reason CJ Stroud wasn't a composite 5-star was because he was a late bloomer and he really didn't blow up until the Elite 11, where he smoked everyone, won the event easily, put on one of the best performances in Elite 11 history. I'm not saying the Elite 11's everything. I'm just saying he was a late bloomer. If Stroud had been known about by recruiting services earlier, I think he very easily would have been a composite 5-star and very easily could have been a top 10 player overall in the 247 Sports composite. They just see him, kind of as that high 4-star. People aren't, he's not put on that same level as a Bryce Young, as a DJ Uiagalelei from Clemson or whoever it is. He's not put on those guys' level, but CJ Stroud is an absolute beast. Let me just tell you that, ladies and gentlemen. I am not concerned at all. The only thing you would be worried about is the lack of experience. He hasn't thrown a pass yet in an FBS game, so that'd be the only thing you would worry about. Obviously, a lot of that's due to the COVID year. If COVID hadn't happened, C.J. Stroud would have gotten a lot more reps last year behind Justin Fields, but we had to get Fields all the reps he could possibly get due to it being a shortened season. So the quarterback position, I absolutely love C.J. Stroud. The only question mark would be the experience, and then Kyle McCord, obviously another experience problem. He's a true freshman, but he is a former 5-star. I view him as the clear-cut number 2 backup quarterback for Ohio State this coming season. And then you've got Jack Miller rounding it out, probably transferring. Moving on to the running back room, really interesting room. You've got the 5-star prodigy, Trey Henderson, who I think is just an absurd beast. So do a lot of other people. I think he'll be starting by game 3 or game 4. You've got the veteran presence in Master Teague. We all love Master. He's a good kid. He's a phenomenal student. But when it comes to the overall ability, we would not want him starting by week 3 or week 4. We know Trey Sermon completely took over the backfield late last year. And when it comes to Master Teague, there's just not a lot of wiggle. There's not a lot of vision, is lacking. And I would look at Trey Henderson to take over the backfield by week 4. And then you've got a short yardage guy, Myron Williams, meatball. If it's 3rd and 1, if it's 4th and 1, give him the ball. I love running backs like him. Any short yardage, give him the ball. He's going to get the first down. You watch him against Clemson. His wiggle is phenomenal. I think Henderson and Williams are going to take over the backfield by week 3 or week 4 with Williams as the short yardage guy and Henderson getting the bulk of the carries when it comes to the running backs. When it comes to the receivers, point blank period, Ohio State has the best receiver room in college football by far. It's not even close. We have 2 future first-round picks this coming year in this draft with Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, both complete studs. We've got Julian Fleming waiting in the rings, former number 1 overall receiver, 3rd-ranked overall player in the composite 5-star. We've got another 5-star, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and then you've got guys like Marvin Harrison Jr., who's Marvin Harrison's kid, who just looked absolutely phenomenal in camp. When it comes to what Brian Hartline's doing in that room, it is ridiculous. The receivers are going to help C.J. Stroud so much. It's not even funny. And then you've got at tight end, Jeremy Ruckert returning for that 4th year. A little bit better of a blocker, really good pass catcher, could be a potential 2nd or 3rd round pick in the draft. We know what he did against Clemson. We'll see if Ohio State maybe helps C.J. Stroud a little. Use that big-bodied tight end. He's a big target over the middle. Give him some targets. Give him at least 3 or 4 targets a game. I'd love to see Ohio State use the tight ends more. I know we say that every year, but I'd love to see that. Moving on to the defensive side of the ball, the D-line is just ridiculous. It was really good last year. People don't realize that due to how bad our secondary was. We had one of the best pass rush win rates, according to PFF, in college football. Tyreek Smith was phenomenal. Zach Harrison, Ohio State fans completely underrate how good Zach Harrison was last year. PFF had him graded as one of the best pass rushers. He is a beast. I think you're going to see at least an 8 or a 10 sack season from Zach Harrison. Physical specimen, Zach Harrison. And then in the middle, you've got the run cloggers, the 2 guys I'm looking at. Haskell Garrett returning. Phenomenal season he had last year. He should be really good as a run-stuffing defensive tackle. Also can pass the rush, can also get pressure on the quarterback. And then you're looking at a guy like Taron Vincent, former 5-star. We're waiting for him to really break out. We'll have to see if he's able to do that. And then you've got the 2 true freshmen coming in, Jack Sawyer and JTT. Wow, this is an absolutely loaded defensive line. I love the D-line. It's so fun to watch these guys. It's 5 stars stacked on top of 5 stars. You've got Tyreek Smith, you've got Zach Harrison, JTT, Jack Sawyer, then you've got the interior guys. How about Javante Baptist as well? He put on some great muscle last year. He looks like a future top 5 overall pick, the way he's looking with the muscle that he's put on. Really, really athletic pass rusher there. Kind of like Tyreek Smith a little bit, so we'll have to see what happens with that. When it comes to the linebackers, a lot of question marks here. We lose our top 3 starting linebackers. Baron Browning heads off to the draft. He's a 3rd-round pick. Pete Warner goes to the draft. I believe he was a 2nd-round pick. And then Tuff Borland. As for Tuff, guys, I don't think any Ohio State fan understands why Tuff Borland was starting for as long as he was. We understand he's a coach on the field. I get it. At some point, he's just not athletic enough to be a starting linebacker at Ohio State for multiple years. He's just not. I don't know why he was starting for that long. You've got guys like Mitchell, who hopefully, I believe this is either his third or fourth year with the program. It might be his fourth year. Was he in that 2018 class or 27? I think he was in the 2018 class. So I believe this is his third year with the program. Hopefully he can break out. Cody Simon is another one. When you're looking at the bullet position, a guy I'm interested in is actually a former 3-star converted tight end, Craig Young. Excuse me, really beast of a kid, really good looking kid. Be on the lookout, Craig Young. Craig Young is going to be interesting. But the linebackers, I mean, linebackers don't make or break your room, but I am excited to see all these young linebackers, maybe Dallas Gant as well. I know he was a former top 100 type recruit, maybe top 150 type recruit, and a really athletic, lengthy linebacker. That's really what we need in our linebacker room, athletic and lengthy guys. We have an absolute generational linebacker that's currently committed to Ohio State. His name is C.J. Hicks, but obviously he's not even with the program. He's class of 2022, but I think he'll be starting as a true freshman. C.J. Hicks is a generational talent. Moving on to the secondary, so this is going to be the big problem spot for Ohio State. I think Ohio State fans are definitely too hard on Sevyn Banks. You're seeing him show up in a lot of first-round mock drafts. Personally, that doesn't surprise me at all due to his athleticism and his length. He is 6'1". I believe he's around 190, so he's exactly what you want in a first-round cornerback. And he's really athletic, and I believe he's got a 4.4 40, so he has all the measurables. It's just him being a CB1, your number one cornerback, it is a tough sell. Like if he was like paired with Jeff Okudah, I mean, it'd be phenomenal. He'd be a phenomenal CB2. He'd be it'd work out perfectly. The problem is him trying to lock down the number one receiver could be a little bit of a tough challenge. I thought he played really well towards the end of last year. But to me, the huge question mark is the cornerback opposite of him, because people are talking about possibly Cam Brown being that guy, Marcus Williamson. I mean, Cam Brown, I was never high on Cam Brown to begin with, and now he's coming off a torn ACL or a major injury. I don't know how that's going to work. And then you've got two true freshmen, the Johnson kid and then Jordan Hancock. I think maybe Jordan Hancock could try and make it work at the CB2. I just don't see them starting a true freshman cornerback. Normally with cornerbacks, if you're a true freshman, it's very tough unless you're like a Derek Stingley or someone that's just absurdly good. Jeff Okudah didn't even start as a true freshman. You need to put on lean muscle mass so you don't get bullied by receivers. That's a lot of these true freshmen, kids coming straight from high school, a lot of their problems. But maybe Jordan Hancock, I'm really high on him. Maybe he can be the CB2. He is a true freshman, so it's going to be tough. The real issue with Ohio State is we just really struggled to recruit cornerbacks for 2 straight years, and that really hurt us. The same thing's actually happening on the offensive line right now. I actually didn't address the offensive line. When it comes to the offensive line, you're looking at the 2 bookend tackles in Thayer Munford, who is returning on that super COVID year. We all thought he was going to go to the draft. He comes back, right? We all thought Paris Johnson was going to be the right tackle. Petit Free was going to be probably transitioning to left tackle, or maybe Paris Johnson would have been left tackle. But Munford comes back. He stays at left tackle. Very solid tackle. Probably going to be a 3rd or 4th round pick in the NFL draft this coming year. And then you've got Nicholas Petit Free as the right tackle. And Paris Johnson Jr., who's an absolute beast, will be starting off at guard. You've got Harry Miller at center, who we all know how he had that game against Michigan State. I don't know if he had the yips or I'm not sure what that was, but I mean, he couldn't snap the football. So hopefully that was just the yips. He's a former 5-star, and hopefully he could be a really good, center. And then we've obviously got Matt Jones as well, who can also play the center position, but he played decent filling in for the other guard position. When it comes to the Ohio State future offensive line plans, this is going to be a really big issue for Ohio State. You take a look at Munford, clearly gone after this year. Petit Frere probably gone after this year to the NFL draft as well. So that opens up 2 tackle spots. One of them is going to be manned by Paris Johnson Jr., we all assume, who's going to be transitioning from guard. He's playing guard this year, and then he'll go back to his natural left tackle position, former 5-star, top 10 overall composite guy. And then opposite him, it'll be interesting. I think they're going to have to force Donovan Jackson, who's a true freshman currently and who is currently an interior lineman. He was an interior lineman prospect, but he can play tackle. I think they're going to have to force him to play tackle because our offensive tackle recruiting these past 2 years has been very poor. A lot of whiffs on a lot of 5-stars, a lot of big-name players that we haven't landed. So they're probably going to have Donovan Jackson play one of the tackle positions when it comes to the coming years due to, I'm guessing Paris Johnson Jr. is going to be a 2 and done, meaning he'll play this year as a guard, he'll play next year as a tackle, and then he'll be off to the NFL. I don't see him staying 4 years. And then that creates a bigger issue because then both of our tackle positions are question marks at that point. So that's just a little down the road issue with Ohio State when it comes to their offensive line. But this year we should have a very solid offensive line. And then the secondary, I hope a guy like Josh Proctor can really take over when it comes to the secondary and really become a star. He's a hard hitter, but he just seemed his eyes get lost a lot of the times. And, you know, he has the experience now. You hope maybe he can become a star in the secondary. We need it. There's really only one major question mark on this team. I guess maybe linebackers as well, but I don't view linebackers as a major need of importance because of how good our defensive line is. Our defensive line is one of the best in the nations. Our offensive line is one of the best in the nations. We have one of the best receiving corps in the nation. Running backs should be fine with Trey Henderson and Williams. Quarterback, give CJ Stroud a few games. He may struggle a little bit against that tough Oregon defense. Other than that, I'm a huge believer in CJ Stroud. I think he possibly could win the Heisman this year. He's quicker than Justin Fields. He still has great touch. He's a great thrower of the football. Possibly facing a Wisconsin or an Iowa in the Big Ten championship game. This schedule is pretty easy for Ohio State. We missed both Wisconsin and Iowa in the regular season. From the West, we get Purdue and we get Nebraska. Those two are obviously a very winnable games. But guys, when it comes to the Buckeyes in 2021, I'm really high on them. It should be a great season. I'm ready. I'm just ready for the season to start, ladies and gentlemen. I'm ready for the season to start. That's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description.